The morning dawned cold and misty, with an uneasy silence that stretched across the camp. The humdrum activities commenced, with soldiers cleaning their rifles, running drills, and checking their equipment. But even in these routine tasks, a pervasive feeling of unease was palpable. Elijah, still reeling from the weight of his recent dreams, glanced at his watch, realizing that it had stopped at precisely 3:17 am. He tapped it, hoping to stir it to life, but it remained still. A minor inconvenience, he thought. But then he looked around. Several of his comrades were shaking their wrists, tapping their watches, each bearing the same time. 3:17 am. Damn thing's busted, grumbled Corporal Reynolds, eyeing his watch with annoyance. What are the odds they'd all break at once? As the day progressed, more peculiarities emerged. Radios, usually a lifeline for coordinating movements and receiving orders, emitted nothing but static. One soldier, attempting to adjust the frequency, caught a fleeting, whispered voice that seemed to mutter, "They come," before fading back into white noise. But it was during the afternoon offensive that the anomalies took a devastating turn. Elijah's platoon, advancing on an enemy position, relied heavily on their electronic gear to coordinate. Just as they approached the enemy lines, every piece of their equipment went haywire. Gun sights malfunctioned, causing shots to go astray, injuring allies in the crossfire. Communications gear buzzed with deafening static, rendering the platoon disoriented and leaderless. A grenade, aimed for a distant enemy trench, exploded prematurely, wreaking havoc among Elijah's comrades. The ground seemed to throb with a strange energy, intensifying the chaos. Soldiers cried out in agony as shrapnel tore through their ranks. The stench of burning flesh filled the air, mingling with the sharp tang of spilled blood. Retreat. Elijah's voice broke through the cacophony, and what remained of the platoon staggered back, nursing their wounds and dragging their injured. That evening, in the dim candlelight of the trenches, whispered conversations echoed the length of the dugout. Tales of curses, ancient battlefields haunted by vengeful spirits, and other supernatural forces were exchanged with hushed fervor. "We've disturbed something ancient," murmured a soldier, his face pallid from a fresh gash on his arm. Reynolds leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper. "Have you heard the legends of this land? They say it's cursed, that every few centuries the ground thirsts for blood." Elijah, his mind grappling with the day's events and the persistent echo of Legion in his thoughts, felt a shiver run down his spine. Whether it was a curse, the touch of the supernatural, or something else entirely, one thing was clear. The war had entered an even darker chapter. The evening settled with an eeriness that Elijah couldn't quite shake. The sky was a brooding shade of gray, the clouds heavy and foreboding, threatening rain. But the true oddity was the wind, which surged through the camp with unexpected force, sweeping up dust and rattling tents. Sitting by a campfire, trying to warm his hands, Elijah overheard the soldiers in hushed conversations. "Did you hear that?" Corporal Reynolds asked, looking around. "That wasn't just the wind. I swear I heard someone whispering." Another soldier, PVT, Martinez, shook his head dismissively. "It's just the wind playing tricks on you. We've been through hell. It's messing with our heads." But Elijah wasn't so sure. Closing his eyes, he tried to focus on the breeze, and almost immediately, the faintest of murmurs reached his ears, whispers that seemed to drift in and out, formless yet eerily familiar. Embrace. Surrender. It was Legion's voice. There was no mistaking it. The chilling realization caused goosebumps to erupt on his skin. The boundaries of his dreams and reality seemed to be thinning, and he feared what that might mean. The fire crackled, drawing his attention back to the present. He heard snippets of conversations from various soldiers, each more unsettling than the last. "Heard my name, clear as day, PV," Mitchell was saying, his face pale. "I thought I was going mad," said another, rubbing his temples as if trying to ease a headache. And then, the words that truly sent a shiver down Elijah's spine came from a soldier seated across the campfire, his face shadowed by his helmet. "It was just like in my dream," he murmured, almost to himself. Elijah leaned forward. "What did you say?" The soldier looked up, eyes wide and haunted. I've been having these dreams. A voice offering me power, tempting me. And now I'm hearing it even when I'm awake." Elijah swallowed hard, the weight of the revelation pressing down on him. Legion was no longer confined to the depths of his dreams. It was here, among them, whispering its seductive promises to any who would listen. As the wind howled louder, the whispers grew more pronounced. The line between reality and nightmare blurred, and the camp, once a haven, now felt like a trap with an unseen predator lurking, waiting to pounce. Moonlight streamed through the gaps in the trees, painting the camp in a pale silver hue. The fatigue of battle, both physical and mental, weighed heavily on the soldiers, evident in their stooped shoulders and hollowed eyes. A haunting silence permeated the night, broken only by the crackling of campfires and hushed voices that spoke of nightmares too terrifying to utter in daylight. Elijah, while refilling his canteen, overheard snippets of conversations from nearby soldiers, machines everywhere, endless, whispers, promises of power, but at what cost? The similarities to his own dreams sent a cold shiver down his spine. His close comrade, Lieutenant Daniels, approached him. The light from the nearby fire revealed the man's sunken eyes, shadowed with sleeplessness. "Elijah," he began, his voice shaky, "I've been having these dreams, visions, mechanical monstrosities stretching into infinity. Voices, one in particular, seducing, tempting. It's maddening." Elijah's heart raced. Daniels looked up sharply. "You know of it." Elijah nodded, recounting his own experiences. The vividness, the seduction of power, and the unshakable feeling of being ensnared by a darkness too vast to comprehend. "They're not just dreams, are they?" Daniels murmured, his voice barely audible, choked with fear. "It's as if someone is trying to break through, to infect our minds." As the night deepened, Elijah and Daniels gathered a small group of soldiers, each sharing their nightmares. The narratives, while unique in detail, all bore the signature of Legion's insidious touch. Visions of sprawling machinery, the dehumanizing march of progress, and the seductive whispers promising dominion over foes. "It's as if we're all connected, PBT," Thompson voiced, his eyes darting nervously, all ensnared in this shared nightmare, like legions trying to forge us into some collective, for some dark purpose. A sense of dread settled over the group. The realization that they weren't isolated in their torment, that Legion's grasp extended far beyond the confines of a single mind, was horrifying. Elijah clenched his fist, determination simmering beneath his growing fear. "We must fight this," he declared. "Whatever Legion is, whatever it wants, we can't let it win. Our humanity, our very souls, are at stake." The soldiers nodded in agreement. A pact silently formed. But as the fire's embers slowly died out, and the chilling embrace of the night deepened, the true scale of their challenge began to dawn. Legion's influence was pervasive, and the battleground was not just the war, torn fields, but also the very sanctity of their minds.